All righty, welcome everybody. So today we're gonna keep trying to do every Wednesday. We're gonna keep trying to do some sort of different training for you. Keep you guys learning, keep me learning, keep everybody moving. Last week, spent an hour with Igor going through some of his training styles. So today, you guys get a treat today. So you get to work with Gabe. Some of you guys will engage with him more than others, and those have been around for a while. Know Gabe a bit. But he's got some fantastic stuff to share, and he's really a master at market profile. He's fantastic at the butterfly trades and many other things, and trading futures. So, based upon that, we're going to have Gabe jump in, show us some of the stuff he's doing. I'm going to mute everybody, which is going to be also you, Gabe. So you'll have to unmute yourself. I'll maybe make you a co-host. So you can not do that. We'll get started, and I'm going to turn it over to Gabe, let him run the show a bit, and we'll jump in as needed. So, Gabe, take it away. Introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are, and let's rock and roll.
All right. Thanks for that introduction. So I know a lot of you, but I know that there's been a lot of new members lately because Tom became famous lately, so he's now a superstar. So my name is Gabriel. And I'm, as you can see, a musician. See, I'm a composer. I'm a writer. I'm a performer. I've been doing music since I was a kid, and I toured all over. I won some awards, and I started trading in 2002. It was a little bit of, I started backwards than everybody else. I started doing covered calls, which I think it's people usually start trading stocks and then they go into options. I started backwards. So anyway, lost a bunch of money, went through a bunch of strategies, finally found Igor's group. That's where I met Tom, started getting consistent. Then I realized I found out about market profile. How did I find out? By watching some videos, and I thought, man, this is like there's something behind it, and I like to figure shit out. So so I really got into it, and I really started studying it and see what this was about, and I found that it really helps me stay on the right side of the trade. Stay on the right side of where the market's going, and it helps me not be surprised when I always used to be like, what the hell, what is this market? This market is super overbought or oversold and it needs to turn here. And when I started looking at the market profile, I started realizing that there's a way price moves, and that when you are looking at from that perspective, it's easier to understand what's happening, and you won't get caught in moves that seem to come out of nowhere that often, right? Of course, it's not a prediction tool, but it helps you. It's like a map that helps you.
What?
Somebody, okay. It's like a map that helps you see where things are likely to go, right? And it helps you create a plan. And if this happens, then you do this. If there's something else happens, you do something else, right? So basically, I use it as a map and to have a certain bias as to where the market could go, right? Of course, you never know where it's going to go because it's all dependent on order flow, right? Like the big traders are the ones that move the market and not us, the retail traders. So let me, for those of you, I'm just curious, just to gauge, how many of you know what market profile and have seen a volume profile chart? Just, I don't know if you can either raise your hand or put on the chat. Okay, let me see right here, the chat. Okay, some are familiar, some don't know anything. Okay, it's a mixed. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna show you first the one that you can see on Thinkorswim, so that people are more familiar with Thinkorswim. And then I'll show you what I use. How do I do this? Let me share. If I can find my screen, this one. All right. Can you guys see this screen with the volume profile?
Yep, perfect.
Now I lost the chat. I don't know the chat where the chat is, but
I'll keep an eye on it as well.
okay. Yeah, if you see
So
something,
you don't have to worry. I'll keep an eye on the chat.
All right, cool. Okay, so this is volume profile chart for ES, right? On the right side, I have what does that mean? Just for those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, this is the volume at each level, right? Which shows how many contracts traded back and forth at a specific level on ES, right? So, and if you look at this big profile on the right, it shows that the most amount of contracts were traded at this level, at 45.65, right? And there was very little interest in trading up here because you can see that there's very little volume here, right? So today was interesting because it was a great example because we broke out of the range that we've been trading at, and you know there was no traders willing to trade up here. So you know it was attempting to break out. So the most likely place that you would come back to is always the place where you have the most volume. And we came, look at this, we came right to this. This is called the point of control, right? Now, this is why this is useful, because when you're having this drop that came out of nowhere, you're like, what the hell is going on? What the hell is happening, right? Like, okay, well, it's dropping, somebody's selling, right? Where are we gonna go, right? So first target, you look at the previous heights, where we broke from, and then the most likely place, if sellers keep pushing, is always where most of the volume is, right? So I use those big volume areas as targets, and I use those low volume areas as either support or resistance, right? And these are each of these profiles. You guys can see my mouse moving, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So each of those of these little profiles is each session, right? So each session has their own profile and their own volume profile, right? That you can look at, and it has those point of controls for each specific session. And what happens is, like, when I started learning this, I would look at this at each session. Okay, well, this is the point of control. Well, that means that I can go along here and go to the point of control, right? But you also have to keep in mind that you have to look at all of this in the context of the big picture, right? Of the bigger picture. So if in the bigger picture you have tons of volume at these levels, right? This area is going to be an area there's going to be a lot of back and forth, because there's some big traders, a lot of positions that were either initiated or you know, a lot of business transacted at this level. So if you want to start a trade here because you think, oh well, this is going to hold, look at this chop, right? This usually happens when you're in the longer time frame. You have a lot of volume at that price, right? So that's why when I look at the day session, if I'm looking at a low volume area, I also want to compare it to what's happening in the larger time frame. It's kind of like when you look at moving averages, you don't look at just the 5-day moving average. You look at the 5, you look at the 10, you look at the 50, you look at the 200, right? You always want to zoom out and see what's happening in the big picture. Is it making sense so far, what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Just want to check, because I know that I'm going a little fast. I'm saying a lot of things. Okay, yes. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, so can you mention this? Yeah, I'm gonna post this chart right here. I'm gonna post this study. I'm gonna share this in the chat. Just so you know, this is, I don't even know which one is the setting that I have. Let me check, but because I usually don't use Thinkorswim, right? But I have one volume profile that's for all the sessions, for each particular session, and then I have one on the right? So this one on the right, this is the way I look at it, because I use Sierra Chart, which is a different software, and I usually have a 20-day volume profile, which is the gray one that I'm looking at. But then so what happens when we move out of this range? I want to see what happened in the past, right? So the 20 days not going to be enough. So I go to larger time frames. So I look at the 90-day. If the 90-day doesn't have any info that I want, that I need to see, then I go to the 365-day and so on, right? So you always have to look to the left to see what happened before, right? So I have all these profiles one on top of the other, but right now, because we're stuck in this range, I'm only looking at the last few days, right? This blue one is the I think it's the 365-day, if I'm not mistaken. But I just, if I don't need it, I just turn it off. But basically the point is, you want to look at what happened in the past, right? So right now, for example, on ES, we have this low volume area between 45.44 and 45.36, right? So this area right here is now acting as support, right? How do I know that? Well, there's no much interest in trading here. Like, we tried a few times, we tried going down, but the buyers are defending this area. But if we do break this and we hold below this 45.36, I expect the 45.20 to be my next target. Why? Because we have all this high volume. Does that make sense? So that is how I look at it, as far as the big picture. This chart right here, this is a TPO chart, which, there's nothing magic about it. The letters right here just represent candles, right? A 30-minute period. So I can show you here, right? If I look at it like this, if I expand this, these are 30-minute candles, right? So there's nothing magic about that. What the TPO profile does is that it allows you to collapse those letters, those each TPO, each tick, right? Collapse it into a profile, right? I mean, it's just a way to view the information. You can just look at this with candles and a volume profile on the right, which is what I have here in Thinkorswim, right? I have the candles. Right now I have 15-minute candle. I could put 5-minute. I could put whatever you want to look at, right? But that's basically how I look at it. And you can use this for any underline you want. Look, this is Tesla, right? If you look at this chart right here, the level with the most volume is right here at 234. 241 is also a good target, right? So if we keep moving down on Tesla, it is likely that we're going to hit 241. And it's likely that buyers are going to defend this area at 240, 239. Now, If it breaks, then we can target 235. It is really as simple as having those if, then, when this happens scenarios, right? There's nothing magic about this. There's nothing, it's just a way to view the information. And what you're viewing is how much traders are willing to transact at a specific level or specific price, right? So when people say, see this going back to here and they're surprised, well, look how many people are trading here. Not that many, but look at how many people are trading here, right? So this becomes like a magnet, right? These high volume nodes become magnets. Let me see. Let me look at this question. Is there a similar stuff on TT? Yeah, Tasty Trade just got a volume profile study that they added recently. Yes. And the good thing is that you can have a few different time frames, one on top of the other. The blue volume chart on the
for
right.
Tasty Trade too, if you go into your charts, so you go to charts and then you can go to indicators, and then you can find, you can pull up volume profile, and then from there, you can make adjustments to your volume profile.
Yeah, I have a few that set up the other day. I'm not using it that much, but I saw that it's nice that they have it now. The blue volume chart on the right represents today or all of the volume for the past 7 sessions. Yeah, so the one that I have on the right is the last few sessions. I have to check. I was trying to check what is it that is showing me. Oh, it's showing me the chart. Basically, if I put 30 days, it'll show me the 30 days. If I put if I put 5 days, it'll show me those 5 days. Do you have the same thing for TradingView? I think TradingView has it. I don't use TradingView, so I don't have a specific
TradingView does
setup.
have it.
Yeah, for sure it has it, but I don't have it on I don't have the study set up, so you would have to look at it. Footprint chart. No, footprint chart is something else, and I can show you. Let me see, footprint chart. This is a footprint chart right here. This is a whole other thing, so I'm not gonna go into that now. If you guys want, we can do another session on footprint charts. And to look at the detail during the day, I'm looking at this usually. And this is nothing else than just a very detailed view of the session, right? So let me see if I can. So if you look at this, we have A period, B period, right? On the right is the volume at each level, right? So A period, that's the open. We moved up, started putting some volume up here, right? When B, we only traded 84 contracts at the high. This freaking thing. 84 contracts at the high. Then we started pulling back. And then we broke below the overnight high on B period. And then we started accelerating, went back through the open. And then we've been trading here. We went all the way to the yesterday's close, right? And this is one of the things that, and I don't know if this is, I wouldn't, this is not related to market profile, but it is all tied up with price action, right? There's one trade that I always mention in the futures channel that that I always look at, which is a day like today. And let me show you this. So we closed yesterday at this level at 45.65. I think the official settlement was 45.65.50. Overnight, we started moving higher. We opened with a gap up above yesterday's range. So I'm always looking at that. Where are we opening in relationship to the previous day? When this happens, that we were not able to do any business below the previous day's close, I learned from the market profile experts that this is called that inventory is either 100% short or 100% long. In this case, inventory was almost 100% long. And this is a trade that I always like to take because it has a very high chance of correcting the inventory, and traders, overnight traders from the European, the Asian sessions, taking profits and going back towards the close, towards the settlement, where there's usually a lot of volume. And today it worked perfectly, right? Once we started pulling back here, took a short, and I covered here at the close. That's a trade that you can always look at when inventory is either 100% or 100% long or short. And outside of the range, even better, right? Let me see. Let me look at the chat. Visible range profile. Okay, no question. Is there any questions? Is this making sense? Is this gibberish?
Your opportunity if you got a question before we keep going on it. But yeah,
I have a question. Gabe, can you review that full inventory of 100% inventory, zero inventory thing real quick once again, please?
Yes. So
Thank you.
when you have a settlement, right? The day finishes, you have a settlement. This is the close of yesterday, right? At 45.65, let's say. All the overnight trading happened above the close, and we didn't trade back and forth through that price. We just went up and kept trading higher and higher and higher. The overnight inventory was 100% long from the close, from the previous close. So that's a trade that I always like to look at because it tends to what tends to happen is that overnight traders start taking profits because most of these people are short-term traders. So they start taking profits, and as they take profits, it creates a move on the opposite direction towards the previous day's close. Does that answer your question, Ed?
I think so. So it's kind of an exhaustion thing.
Say that again?
It's like an exhaustion, an overbought exhaustion or an oversold exhaustion. I guess I'm not fully understanding when you say inventory.
The inventory is meaning like if you're buying something, you're holding inventory, right?
Okay.
So these traders are holding all this long inventory that they, in order to take profits, they have to close or take, the opposite trade, which is shorts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it creates this move down towards the previous day's close. So it's just a setup that tends to work over and over. And by the way, I just wanted to clarify that I'm not an expert in this. I'm showing you what I know and what I've done in my experience. I don't know exactly why it works, but I know it works more than it doesn't, right? So
right.
When you have this specific setup where like there's no trading below the previous day's close and you have a gap up outside of range, there's a tendency to go back to that place because in those settlement prices levels, there's always a lot of volume. So it tends to close that gap usually.
Thank you.
So I don't know if I clarified your question, but I'm just sharing what I've learned, and I'm not exactly sure the science behind it, but I know it works.
Thank you, Gabe.
You're welcome. Let's see, maybe it would be worth to give an example how you do your trades based on this information when looking at volume chart. Okay, so that is a great question, and one that that was going to address, right? So like I said before, this is a way to look at the market, and there's like literally a million ways to trade stuff like this, right? And I cannot tell you how you should trade, because everybody has a different style, different risk profile, different way to look at things, right? So what I can tell you, the way I look at it is, like I said before, is low volume areas are support and resistant. High volume areas are targets, right? So now using that, you can either trade butterflies, you can trade straight futures, you can trade credit spread, zero DTE. I mean, there's millions of ways of trading that. And I know some people that, let's say we get here into this low volume area, they start building a small position, and then they, as long as it holds, they can trade back and forth until they have they took all the risk off, and then they target this, this high volume areas, and then they place their stops here. I know some other people that, looking at this, they might decide to do a put credit spread with down here, because they know that this could be a target, so they put, they hold below here, right? The low volume area. So there's literally millions of ways of trading. I'm trading, I'm doing both things, right? So I have a long-term portfolio, and I have my day trading that I do with futures. And for futures, I'm looking at the shorter term picture, and taking trades like the one I just said. I have a couple other setups that I posted on the old Mr. Toptic forum that I have right there. I just posted on the chat. That I take usually, and I'm looking at specific things as far as how volume is building up throughout the day, and what those higher volume nodes are, and where we're likely to be headed to. But yeah, so I
go back and drop ES on here and just maybe run through today a little bit. Yeah. Was there any opportunities that you would have seen from this particularly? Yeah. So today this, like, we were overnight, we broke yesterday's high. We were moving high, then through the numbers report, we hit 45.90 to the tick, right? Or 45.90.25, which is a level that I've been calling for several days on the futures channel, right? Actually, I was calling for 45.91, so I missed it by a few ticks. Anyway, so bell rings, we move higher, and we start building this volume above the overnight high. Now, there's this low volume area right here. I was long here, and I was thinking we were gonna keep moving into the 4600s because there was no sellers.
right when this started pulling back, I got stopped out here below this low volume level. And when I saw that seller, it started picking up speed and volatility started increasing and we went below the open, I took a short because my going back through the open, it's like basically it's negating all this move. And I had that, that setup from that I said before, inventory is 100% long. We're opening with a gap up, so I was expecting a gap fill. And I think you took a credit spread too, right, Tom?
Yeah, I did that right at the open today. So I did a call credit spread. Yeah.
Right. And when you did that, I remember thinking, man, this is really bullish. I don't know if I would do that right now. So you were there, you did it before me. But I waited for confirmation until we went below the open. So everybody has their own style of trading. Tom, of course, is way better than me.
I don't know about that. Sometimes better be lucky than good. And I used a couple different things. So I was using the 3 ATR move on the open, and then on your toss chart there, if we're using that, I mean, you're well above the point of control. And you're at an area that to me there wasn't a lot left. So I mean, we had already, you ticked all the way up to that high happened at almost right at 9:30 of the day.
Right. So it was a resistant area. So that's why I decided to change my mind right after when we went through the open. And sorry, wrong chart. Lost my chart. Where is it? So I changed my mind, and I knew that we were there was a high chance to close the gap towards yesterday high, and my next target was gonna be this yesterday's close. So that's when I took the short. I took some off here, took some off here. Took some off here at the yesterday's high, took some off here at 69, and then I covered here at the previous day's close. So that's an example for today's trading. And here, if you're not looking at the reason why I cover here was because I saw a lot of buying and on the tape, but that's something that you cannot see on the volume profile alone. You have to be looking at the DOM and either footprint charts or times on sell so that you can see the buyers come in. Let's see, got a few questions here. Gabe, you have the close set at 4:15, correct? So I have, for some reason in Sierra chart, this close doesn't let me do it at 4 p.m. So I have both. I'm looking at both, but the official settlement is at 4 p.m. They changed it a couple of years ago, I think, and it's like they use like the last few seconds of the 4 p.m. Close, and then they average something like that. So there's like an official settlement that is around 4 p.m. Does the lower overnight volume get corrected by large players at RTH? I think it's a combination of both. It's the overnight traders start taking profits, and then volume starts coming in at the open. So there's large traders taking opportunity of that move, right? So when this happens, you go short or sell options. What stop? So I think you're talking about the short trade that I was mentioning. So, it all depends on your account, right? If you have a small account, you cannot short ES. You should do MES, right? You can sell options like Tomdale. You can sell a credit call credit spread, and you can have your stop either above the high of the day. You can have it at the overnight high. It depends of the day. I cannot give you like a straight formula of, always do this, because it's, things are not always so black and white, right? If you start pulling back and then you find a huge amount of buying at yesterday's high, and then it reverses, then you gotta stop out, right? And know where you would take profit and be wrong, right? But you cannot say always do the same, right? Because if this high was up here, I wouldn't tell you to put the stop here, because it would be a huge risk, right? Either that, or you have to size your position accordingly. So I'm sorry I cannot give you a specific answer regarding that, but it has to be based on your account size and your risk. What would you use as a trigger to take the trade as support or resistance? Okay, so for example, if let's say we're here and let's say we're here and this is a low volume node, so there's a few ways that I take a long trade here. One is I'm looking at also what time, because I trade futures, right? So I'm looking at what time we get if we break this, right? So if we break this, I don't know, like at 3:30 p.m., I'm not gonna try to take a long at 3:30 p.m. because the market at 3:30 p.m. is like it's looking to finish up the session. So it all depends, but I either look at, okay, does it go below and we get a huge move up again, and then I see a lot of buying on the tape, I could just take a long with a tight stop below the candle, the move up. But what I do is I look at a short time frame. It could be 1 minute, it could be 2, 3, 5 minutes, whatever you use as a short time frame, and start looking for, is there higher high and higher lows that indicate that there's a reversal. I do that, but I also look for, is there an impulse, a strong move that indicates there's a change of sentiment, to say it one way, right? A change of direction, right? Because sometimes you see it starts moving up slowly, and then it gets sold again, right? So I want to see like a strong move. I call it an impulse. Some people call it I don't know what people call it, but that leaves. What is it? Somebody said something. I thought it was you. Anyway, I look for higher highs, higher lows. You can also use whatever indicators you like using, the squeeze, the RSI, whatever, stochastic. And I look for confirmation. If I'm trading ES, I look for correlation with either NASDAQ, or I look for AD/SPD if they're moving together, if there's a divergence. So it's not always this simple. You gotta keep in mind where you are in context in relationship to other things that are happening in the market. If I see the US dollar getting destroyed, I know that there's a higher chance that we can start moving up, right? So it all depends. Never use this, but it will become another one of my tools. Okay, great. Do you share your futures trades in any channel? Yes, we have a futures channel in the Discord called Active Futures. What's it called? It's called
Active Futures Chat. So it's part of the Active Trader service.
Yes. So it's a separate service that if you're interested in, you can message Igor and
Yep.
tell him that you would like to have access to that. And I lost the chat again. Where's the chat?
But yeah, the Active Trader chat is part of the Active Trader service. So if you're interested in it, you can take a look at that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good stuff in both services. And I just from me, and again, I don't know half as much about this stuff really, but I think one of the things Gabe mentioned that I think you use everything in conjunction with other things, if that makes sense. You're not relying on one piece of info to decide, hey, I'm going to make a trade. So for me, it might have been that at the open today, looking at SPX or really ES here. On ES, we gapped up. Okay, number one. And number two, we went above the 3 ATR. Then number three, I looked at, on a volume profile chart. Again, this might be the wrong way. So this is Gabe's opportunity to point out the error of my thinking, which is probably an easy thing to do. But not only was RSI overbought, doesn't mean it can't stay overbought. Okay, but you were well above the point of control for the day, the point of control for the 5 days on a 15-minute chart is, and I've always viewed it this way, and I don't know if it's the right thing to do, that the point of control is like a magnet to me.
Yeah.
That it doesn't mean we're going back there, but if you've gotten well above it, and I equate like that 3 ATR as something similar. It's like, to me, being in space, in a space capsule, and you go out and you don't have any oxygen. So you can only survive outside of the 3 ATR range, or you can only survive at extremes for so long before you got to come back into the capsule. That's kind of the way I look at it. Well, whether you're diving or in space or whatever, it's just a simple way of looking at it for me is, hey, you're above a 3 ATR, you're above the RSI is overbought. And on the chart here, if you look at the volume profile chart, you were, at a thin area. There's not a lot of air up there. It's like, the mountain range, when you're back at the base camp where point of control is, there's plenty of oxygen there. But the higher you go up that hill, there's less and less air. And at some point, you got to come back down to it. That's just my simple way of doing it. And volume's that same way. Hey, there's just not enough volume up here to stop it. And it chews through volume quickly on the way down if there's not a lot of volume to be had. Anyway, that's my quick take, which may be way off, but
no, it's look, you're 100% right. And when the only reason why I took a long trade was because I was waiting for that. I was targeting that 4,600, right? And I wasn't expecting too much more because we, like you said, we were at the edge of the range, and the magnet was down there, right? So your reasoning was perfect. The thing is, sometimes when traders start getting squeezed and you see this pattern of volume starting to form, and then they keep getting squeezed, and then we spend some time there, and then they keep pushing more and more, right? So we can stay overbought for a while. So
right.
But you have to know when you're wrong. If you think, oh well, look at this volume, we're going long. In fact, I was in the morning, I was at another room with some trader that he kept adding longs as we were pushing down, and I was like, and he lost a shitload of money because he was stuck with his view that we were going to keep pushing higher. So you have to be willing to be wrong and recognize it quickly when the price is showing you that you're wrong. So that's something that I struggle with because I like to be right. I'm Argentinian,
and I think one of the keys here too is Gabe, I think, I may be wrong, but you're very much a level trader. He looks at a lot of levels, I think. And that's what he's much better at than me. I'm like a reversal trader. And while I don't understand the levels enough there, which is either to my detriment or again, this is blind, stupid luck sometimes because I don't pay attention. But I think when you start to add all of these things together, start to determine levels where there's stuff is happening. So it's a level where there's enough volume or enough trades there that, hey, if we get to that level, all of the people that bought low are eventually going to have to sell.
Exactly.
And I think that's what you really want to understand is that people bought low. Okay. There's a lot of volume down there and they got to sell at some point. If the market comes, goes, and people that bought high, if we start going lower, those people got to get out at some point. So where is the level that the pain will start to inflict on people that you have to get out? And that's where I think that's the keys on levels a little bit for me is understanding where buyers have to get out or they're getting squeezed. So shorts are getting squeezed to the upside, which means in order to deal with the shorts, people are having to buy futures, which is knocking the futures higher. Just understanding, I think, a little bit of how it works and just think through it a bit.
Yeah, I wanted to show you that specifically for this date. On the 9th, we pushed here and the point of control was down here, 43.63. And traders kept trying to go short here. And you could see a lot of volume pushing into these lows. And if you have a footprint chart, you could see that all these sellers were being absorbed, meaning like there was some passive buyers in this area. And that's why after this, they couldn't get lower. You could see all these shorts started getting squeezed. And that's why we had this huge move up. We left this single print and we just never were able to come down. I think there was a couple of attempts, but then more squeezing, more the gap here. Also, people tried to get short. Nobody could get short, so every attempt was absorbed, and now we're here. So, like Tom said, you have to think from the other side's perspective. Okay, who's gonna be in pain, right? Right now, everybody's long, so the pain will happen if we start trading below these levels, right? If we start trading below 36, then you're gonna see that all these people are gonna have to start getting rid of these positions because they were wrong. They were all thinking that we were gonna go up here or to all-time high, and then they're gonna puke and we're gonna come down to this area and start trading in this area. And I always keep my gaps marked in my charts because gaps are places where they usually get filled. So I mark all that stuff. I mark when we have like a CPI or some news that triggered a big move and never got revisited because we usually go back and revisit them. But yeah, I do a lot of level-to-level trading.
And that's one of the, if you're in that service too, I mean, Gabe, every single morning he's posting levels. You get a good sense, especially if you're a zero DTE trader. You can take a look at those key levels and see, does that make sense for the trade I want to put on? Is there, if I'm trying to put on, if the market moves higher, I'm more of a reversal trader than a level. So I'm looking for extremes and reversals more than anything. And I think Gabe probably looks more at breakouts and where things can go than anything. So it's either way, there's no right and wrong. It's just a matter of, it's probably the same trade. Either way, it's just that you may get in at different times to the trade. And I think if you look at even today, I think on ES, what about 45.77, I think is like the major volume area. I kind of like a volume shelf. Maybe I could be wrong, but
That's yesterday's high, yeah. And there's some volume there, yeah.
yeah, and I mean, it seems like that's it was really mostly, well, yeah, today. So it seems like at 45.77, at least I'm looking at like the toss version, the toss volume profile. If there's a lot of volume there,
Yeah.
does that provide resistance now? Since we went low, we bounced off essentially, I think gear 200 on the 15-minute. But we ran up to that volume area at 45.70, I don't know, whatever it might be. I think 45.77. And then we failed at it recently. Now, it doesn't mean, and the volume's been dropping for a while now. So volume's getting weaker. So there's no strength in any move. So are we going to fail at 45.77 and go lower? Good potentially to do that. Now, if you're thinking that way, and again, I could be totally wrong. Okay. If I'm thinking that way, that there's a volume area that provides, does heavy volume, does that provide support and resistance, or does that create a vacuum that you want to move to, or both? I don't know. Maybe you can answer that question because I really don't know.
Well, so specifically that 45.77 is yesterday's high.
Yeah.
So yesterday's high, it has a lot of volume because in the overnight session there was a lot of volume.
Right, and we hung around that area in the overnight session
right.
from about 3 a.m. till about 5 or so a.m. We really hung in that range, so it's become a really solid volume level. Right.
So it's traders are like they were trying to defend yesterday's high, but they couldn't. So we're trading inside, and we just tried a little bit ago to get above and then failed. So right now at this point in the day, the trade, I don't see any trades in this area because there's too much going on, right? Too much congestion. What I'm looking at is the longer time frame, right? There's like a little bit of a lower volume area. It's between 72 and 74, right? But we traded through a bunch of times, so if we start building a lot of volume above that, and we're able to get above yesterday's high, then I would say, okay, we're gonna hit this 81 and then see if we can go through the open and make another attempt at this area, right?
And I think that's where your levels are really great, because I think for you, most likely, if we would break through 77, you'd probably get long on ES, and that's where we would be, that's where I'd be scalping. I would just be buying the futures contract as soon as we broke 78 or something to the upside. Then I'm long ES futures now, and there's not a ton of volume to stop it from going higher potentially.
Right. So and also not only that, but think about what happened. Like we have all these people going long, and then here they started getting short, right? And the ones that got short, thinking that we were gonna keep moving short, like here, either they're holding and they're gonna have to buy back if we get above VWAP, or they're gonna hold and then get paid down here. So right now the shorts are wrong because they were getting excited here and they're like, oh shit, we're going back up, right? So if we're going back up here, they're gonna be really wrong. And traders, even big traders, they hold their position longer than what they should. Anyway, yes. So I would go level to level. If we go above yesterday's high, I would expect some sellers up here, this little single print at 82. If we go above that, sellers always, you're gonna find at the open. So some sellers are 85, but if we go above the open, then I would expect the overnight high to be retested.
Good.
Let's see. I was gonna show
And I think that's important to even if you have the basics and you don't have Sierra charting, which is great, fantastic stuff. If you're going to be scalping and you're going to be trading futures, then that stuff's super important for me. Which I'm more rudimentary on it, but as long as I at least have that same chart setup that he shared with you on TOS, if you're looking at that daily, you get a sense of levels, at least from there, and where things can go. Just at least looking at that gives you some sense. And whether you use, the 5, the 15, the 30-minute, whatever, it gives you an idea of, hey, where was yesterday's highs? Where's that level? And if you look at today, we came down, banged on it, bounced off of it, then we finally broke it, then we came up and failed at it again. It's been a pretty solid level out there. You get a good sense if you want to do some intraday stuff. You get a good sense of what could potentially hold as just one tool. Now, I wouldn't say just use this screen only and do all your trading, but I use this in conjunction with, again, a 15-minute and a 3-minute chart, and I'm looking at oversold or ATR levels as well as MACD. Are we running out of steam? Because I'm looking at momentum a bit, but you can see the momentum on the Sierra chart. So you can see the momentum because you can see where the volume's dying. So you can see the momentum coming out. You can also look at the volume at the bottom here a bit, but you can see where volume goes to die a little bit.
Right. The other thing that I wanted to mention that I think it's good to keep an eye on is, let's see if I can, because I had this thing that I was preparing. If you see this, I don't know if you can see this, but these are like the different type of days and the distribution of a profile, right? On a normal day, you have the volume profile that should look something like this, right? With the point of control in the middle, a little bit of excess on the top, excess on the bottom, right? Now you have some days where you're gonna have, it's gonna be kind of an imbalance, right? Like where the point of control is gonna be on the top, and then you're gonna have excess on one side, but no excess on the other side. And that usually shows that, buyers are trying to move price higher, but they couldn't get that excess, right? So eventually that tends to repair. So I keep that in mind for the next sessions, right? Like if I see a day that we couldn't finish the auction to the upside, I keep that in mind and I set a target that would make this profile kind of symmetrical, right? And again, it's not a science. It's just to have a bias on the market and have a place to look from. When you have a trending day, you're gonna have like a lot of little bell curves, right? Like volume nodes, over and over and over, and until the market finds the next place that is gonna balance and range, right? And then this, this is double distribution, means like the market cannot decide where it wants to accept prices, right? So it goes from a top distribution to a bottom distribution, back and forth, right? Until it finds a place where it wants to accept prices and everybody's in agreement where they want to do business. Right now, this is perfectly in balance. So, either you take shorts up here, longs up here until this breaks, right? Those are the trades. Trying to trade in here is a recipe for getting chopped up. So maybe for people that like to do iron flies, that's, those are good things to look at, right? If you're trading close to the point of control, and if the point of control of the session matches the bigger picture point of control, even better, right? Like iron flies would work great in an environment like that. So you gotta always keep that in mind. What kind of day are we having? Are we having a day where like there's a trend that we're not stopping? Are we having a day that it's balanced? Like right now, it's turning into a balanced day. Actually, there's like a little bit of a multi-distribution, but it's now turning into a balance, right? You see one distribution here, one here. But if we fill this volume up, it's going to be in balance. Okay, I don't know how long we have with this, but
That's probably good. I mean, if you get a few more things you want to jump into, I know we're hitting the top of the hour.
yeah, I wanted to see if I wanted to check with people to see if there's questions.
Yeah.
B profile means sellers trying to push lower. Yes, correct. But the thing is that, you know, when you have a B profile that you don't have access to the downside, it could also mean that there's passive buyers taking all that inventory to push the market higher later. So it's not really it's not always the same. It just shows you that the sellers are being ineffective at pushing lower. That's what it's showing. They're trying, but they're not able to. Could I briefly explain the scaling butterfly? I made a video about that. I don't know if we should use.
Yeah, let's do that on a separate because it takes a little bit of time. Should be
Chris,
a ton of stuff that are.
Yeah, there's a video on the vault that I went over it, and I feel free to ask questions about it. But I went over it couple months ago, and it's in the vault.
And if you look at, I think my trade plan, it's in there under spec trades as well. At least the original version we were doing. Then you can, so you get a concept of every time it moves 40 points, we're scaling 20 points higher, essentially. But you can, Gabe's got a lot more adjustments on that. I will also adjust it up and down. So not just in one direction. I'll adjust if we drop, and we'll go up. So there's a couple things on that. So there's a basic write-up in my trade plan on just how to get it started. Gabe's got a video, Igor's got a video.
Also, sorry to interrupt, but if you go to my my trades, the trades that I share, I did a few of them, and I posted screenshots on every adjustment that I did, and I explained why I did the adjustments. So if you go through a few of those, you're gonna get a good sense of what the trade is like and how to go about it.
Yep, and there's a bunch of them there, so he's done a good handful of them for you.
You see, right now we're testing that little low volume area for the day, and it looks like it's holding, but we'll see. If it breaks, then we're gonna go to this 69. So, but you see how it's having a hard time getting below that low volume, right? Look, it's up already. It's 73. Yep. So it's really, I think that once you start looking at volume, you can never go back to trading without volume profile. Look how it goes back to that high volume. You see, this was support, target the high volume, right? That was a couple points, but a couple points on ES, it's $100, right? No, yeah, $100.
Yeah. All you need is 2-point move, and right. 50 on a 50.
Right.
A 50 multiplier thing is we just need 2 points and you make $100. If you get a 10-pointer, fantastic.
And the good thing about this is that it's such a low risk, right? Like you could be wrong a bunch of times, and then when if the point of control is far enough, you could make a lot of good money with that. FVG, Eddie's saying FVG. What is this FVG? Oh, fair value gap. Is that what you're asking? I don't know if that's a question or a statement or.
I do not know.
All right.
But yeah, good stuff. So you can see, you can see if you're watching this, and it's helpful, I think, just to watch it. Pop this up on your screen and just watch it, and you get a sense of how things are moving. When they move down to the low volume area, that low volume area, potentially acted as a bit of support there. We bounced off of it, ran back up to, that higher volume area, that yesterday's high. We still can't get it going, but you're building more volume in that same area the more we trade sideways, which, if you break one way or the other, then it becomes a support or resistance area potentially. But just get a sense. I'm still not very good at it at all, but I just watch it and leave it up there for the day when I don't have a whole lot of anything else going, and I can go back at night and just, okay, what happened for the day today? What did I gain out of, what would I have done if I was trading throughout the day? What were some of the things that I wanted to get into? And for me, again, I'm more of a reversal trading guy, so I'm looking at extreme moves outside that space capsule that this market has to come back a little bit. And if it's going to come back a little bit, it gives me a chance. The reason I like reversals a little bit on my side, and the same thing can be said if you're trading levels as well, is where your stop is. So your stop is right below the level. Maybe give yourself a little bit of leeway. For me, it's wherever the reversal happens, I'm just putting my stop just outside of that reversal. If you're trading a breakout level, you're just putting your stop below that level, and then you can start to trail it and move it as you go, or scale out, take off, put on 10 trades. And we talked about this with Igor the other day on the 112 trades. And I think some of you guys probably started to get some insights that the larger your account, okay, before you start to put on too many trades and look at big numbers, is first start scaling up the quantities that you're using, because you can do a lot when you have 5 or 10 contracts of something on, like even a 112. You can take 5 of one of the legs off. You could take 3 of 10. Okay. And if you're doing the same thing here, trading ES or just trading the move for a day, if you put 5 contracts off, you can pull 3 out and let 2 be a runner, as opposed to moving your stops. You can do, there's a whole lot of stuff you can do as you scale up, I think.
Yes, and I was gonna say that when you have the best setups happen when you have a confluence of things, right? For example, if you have this volume node, this low volume area, which is right on top of all this area of consolidation, right? And you have and this is the you have, like, let's say a stochastic that is turning, and you have whatever other confirmation on top of the low volume node that makes it even a better trade, right? You don't want to just take every low volume node just randomly, right? Because if you take a low volume node trade that is at the same level as this larger time frame high volume node, you're gonna be like, what the hell, it's not working, right? It's not working because in the the larger time frame traders are doing business here, right? You're just not seeing it because you're focusing on this and only on today's session. So it's it takes practice, it takes a lot of screen time, but I think it's a really good tool to use, right? And like I said, it's not magic. It's not going to help you predict the future, but it's going to really help you get a better sense of what's happening.
Yeah, good. All right, good stuff. Appreciate it, Gabe. So helps me a lot. I'm still trying to learn this stuff a bit and seeing how I can use it in trading. And your time frames are going to be based upon what you're trying to accomplish. So these 5-minute and 15-minute time frames is really good if you're doing intraday stuff. And then maybe you're looking at larger time frames and larger volume if you're trying to place, credit spreads and you're doing a 12-day or you're doing a 7-day butterfly or something. You can look at, a larger time frame to get a sense of, well, where could it go and when should I change?
Right. And I just wanted to no, which one is I lost my chart. Here, because we have this this longer time frame, low volume, I mentioned in the active trader in the futures channel, I mentioned that buyers were going to be here, and I mentioned that buyers were going to be here, and that's exactly what happened yesterday. So in that sense, this is it does help you predict the future, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the buyers here are going to be stronger than the sellers that show up here, right? So it's always, it's like, okay, that there's going to be buyers here, but what's going to happen, you never know. Again, it's I'll be here on the room. If you guys want to ask me more questions about it, I'll be happy to answer the questions. And if you want to do another session and go deeper into it, let me know and we'll do something.
Yep, perfect. We'll leave it open for a little bit if you guys want. If not, appreciate everybody joining us today.
Yes,
hope this was helpful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, again, thanks, Gabe.
All right.
All right, folks, if you got any questions, you jump on. If not, we're going to wrap it up and we'll get back to our regularly scheduled program.
The slide of market profile, you mean the one that I just had on my screen?
I think from that futures course or whatever.
Okay, I see a few questions here. Will you do yeah, we can do something with
Yeah, we'll do some butterflies on the next one. So there's a lot to cover on this. So we'll do another session.
Yeah, I didn't want this to last like 2 hours. I can stay. I don't have a problem, but I think it's
yeah, we'll do a whole session on that.
Let's see what I think he's talking about this. I'm gonna post it on the Discord. But I think, how do I do this? I cannot share this. I posted on the Discord. Is that what you were talking about, Lilas? Okay, good. Trying to figure out how to get the volume profile to show up daily. I'm not sure what you mean.
I think breaking it down into the individual days, not just the one big blue at the end, but having the daily.
If you scroll up at the beginning of the chat, I posted the Thinkorswim study that I use. I guess I could post it again.
Yeah, it's the easiest way. You want me to I got it if you need it, or
there it is.
You got it.
Is there a start section of the active trader channel to give us a basic trading plan overview of your strategy? So there's a bunch of pinned posts on the chat. There's the forum that post that I just shared. and I'm there every day answering questions. I post my analysis in the morning. I used to do streaming, but I stopped for a little bit. But I'm gonna start again at the beginning of the year. Maybe I'll do some live streaming in December also. But yeah, basically, there's a lot of info there in that channel. No slide that you show normal or trendy. Oh, that one. Okay. Can I? Here you go. All right, that one. Okay, more questions? No more questions. All right.
Good stuff.
If anybody has any more questions, I'm here. If not, have a great day.
Thanks, Gabe. Good stuff.
I'll be around.
Excellent stuff. Good stuff. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.